Welcome back! My name is Luyren, and this is my Stencyl Resource Pack tutorial series, Part 3-3, Options and Branching Scripts. This is an in-depth look at the display options actor behavior for the Cutscene Resource Pack. This behavior allows you to call option sets for your actors, in which the player can pick an option from a list displayed on screen. You can customize several option sets, each with their unique options and events when selected. This video covers how to customize your options layout and how to use them to create branches in your scripts. Links to get Stencyl and my Cutscene Resource Pack will be in the description below. Before we begin, an update regarding the dialog interface behavior. I've added sound attributes to play when the dialog finishes drawing, when you advance to a new window or resume an interrupted dialog, and when you dismiss the dialog. All of these sounds can be changed in the dialog presets. Let's start by going over the behavior and its attributes. You attach this behavior to any actor that can call options in your game. The activated boolean calls all options for your actor when it is created. This is useful to quick test the layout or for specific scripts. The control attributes define the controls used to move between options and select them. You also have the cancel option key to automatically move and select an option index designated as cancel index. The first time you press that key, it automatically moves to the cancel index option. If you press it again, that option is selected. The option selected this way is defined in the cancel index attribute, and you can set it to -1 to disable this setting. The create cursor boolean creates an actor specified in the option cursor type attribute to act as a pointer to the currently highlighted option. You select animations both when idle and when an option is selected in the cursor animation attribute, separated by a comma. And the cursor X and Y offsets are offsets from each option's position, separated by a comma. Negative numbers for the X offset move the cursor to the left side of the option text. Finally, cursor tween time is the time in seconds the cursor takes to move between options. All options makes this actor call all the configured options at once. Initial option is the index of the option initially highlighted when the options are called. If you set this to -1, no option will be highlighted, forcing the player to move the cursor before selecting an option. This can prevent a selection if the player is button mashing. Now we get to the options proper. We have two lists, one for all the options text and positions, and another for the events that happen when each option is selected. Let's start with the option text. Here you configure the option text, the X origin, the X position, the Y origin, and the Y position, all separated by slashes. These are the same parameters described in the dialog video, but a quick refresher. X origin can be left or right, Y origin can be top or bottom, and they represent the distance from each side of the screen to place the option text. You can also set the X position to center, to centralize the options on screen. If you are using the all options setting, these are all the parameters you need to configure, but you'll notice that in this example, there are more parameters. I mentioned in the beginning that you can configure option sets. An option set is a sequence of all options you can call. For this example, the first option set starts from index 0 and goes all the way to index 5. The second contains indexes 6 and 7. When a call option event is used in a script, you select the first and last option indexes to call, and all options in between will be used. That's what defines an option set. When you call the options like this, the first option of a set needs a few extra parameters: the initial option, the cancel index, and the background image. They are the same as the attributes with the same name. The background image refers to either the animation or the external image name used for the background. You'll also notice that on the second option set, the initial option and the cancel index are 6 and 7. Even if your option set has 2 or even only one option, you still need to reference them by their index on this list. The option events list is where it's decided what happens when an option is selected. Each item on the list is one event. You select the index to execute this event, the wait time in seconds after the option is selected to perform the event, and the event itself with its parameters, all separated by commas. If you set the index to a dash, this event will play for all options. The events available are sound, plays a sound. Trigger, calls a trigger to all behaviors for this actor or for the scene. And set value sets a local or global value to a number or text. Set value is what's used to create option branches on scripts. When you first attach this behavior to this actor, it comes with a few default values for option events. The deactivate options and clear options triggers disable the options once they are selected, and the stop dialog trigger removes any dialog window that may be opened for this actor. They apply to all options, as their option index is set to a dash. If you want the same sound to be played when any option is selected, use a sound event with a dash as its option index. If any option across the entire options list has a different sound, you have to use a sound event for each option index. For the fonts used, you select one for regular options and one when an option is highlighted. Cycle sound and sound channel are used when moving between the options. And lastly, the background options are exactly the same as the dialog interface behavior. The difference lies in the variable background options. When using them, the size of the option background will be determined by the position of the first and last options for the height, and the width will be that of the longest option text. On the Events Manager behavior, the call option event simply requires the initial and last option indexes you want to display. Remember that all options between these two will be called. When you want to display options, you need to be mindful of the events leading to it and the events after it, based on the selected option. Most commonly, you will call options after displaying a dialog. My recommendation is to use the complete parameter. That way, your options will appear as soon as the dialog finishes drawing. You can also separate the last dialog before an option call into its own event and use a preset with Use Controls set to false in the dialog interface. This ensures that the dialog box will only be dismissed after the option is selected. You can even alter the time of the stop dialog trigger event if you need the dialog to stay open for a bit after selection. Just remember to set a preset with Use Controls set to True for your following dialog events. After an option is selected, you need to set up conditions for your events, so that only specific ones play based on the option selected. In this example, the event index number 5 after the option call has several branches, based on the option selected, by checking a local value. This local value is set when an option is selected. You notice that all these branches converge to the same event index number 6, and then another option set is called. You can have several branches in your script, and if you organize your event indexes properly, they can converge back into one single line of events, making your script more organized. The cutscene pack comes with a sample script for a 3 options dialog. It is explained in more detail in the included documentation file. This script stops the player, shows an opening dialog, calls the options, and then it branches out into 3 dialog events. After the dialog, it loops back to the first dialog and the option call. Only by selecting the last option, the interaction is stopped. You can change the dialog text for each option, or use it as a template to have more options. As well as importing the script, you also have to configure the display options actor behavior. That's it for today. Hopefully, you now have enough information on how to customize your option layouts, as well as an idea on how you can branch out your events. In the next video, I'll cover scene changes and the included actors you can use for that. Thank you for watching.